Hey, my name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And this is a special edition of the top performance of the week. Typically, I only do one or two, but there were a lot of candidates, and I couldn't choose just one, not two, not three, but four. And I'm pleased to have on my last guest of the week from Sheehan, who coming off their championship season in 2019. He's now a senior. He was a sophomore in 2019. Jacob Shook, who is a part of the offense and the defense, a multifaceted player. Shook, it's great to be able to have you on, man.
Yeah, same here. Great to be on.
Before I get into obviously yourself, I kind of want to talk about Sheehan really quick. And I know what Coach Farazi has meant for the program because I've had him on. I've seen him at the gym when I was going to the Waterbury gym quite a few times
Yep.
before I moved. And I could just see why you guys love him because his presence, his aura, and the demand, the respect he demands. But what makes him special to you guys as he's your coach?
Yeah, all the things you said, he's a great guy and he's a very goal driven guy. And he kind of brings up guys, you know, to have the same mentality that he has, that, you gotta, you gotta be all in, you gotta be totally invested into what your goals are. And you know, he knows when it's serious time. And, outside of football, he's a great guy to talk to. I had a meeting with him today with my other captain. He's just a great guy to talk to, and very good coach. He does a great job coaching. He knows how to be hard on you, but you know that when he's being hard on you, he loves you and he just wants you to be a better player.
It shows with what you guys did in 2019, having the magical run that you did. The amount of points that you guys scored in almost every game was ridiculous. I mean, did you guys? I've had a couple players on, and obviously Coach Farazi, and I've asked the same question during the season. When you saw how many points you were scoring every game, was it almost expected? Like if you didn't score 40, it was like, darn it, we stink. We didn't score 40.
Yes, most definitely. I remember, every time they would hand the ball off, you would kind of just expect, to just see Terrence Bogan running down the middle of the field and scoring a touchdown on like the first play. Every time he got tackled, it was kind of just like, damn.
Yeah, dude, the amount of talent from that 2019 team is ridiculous. And even the
Right.
talent that is no longer there, and we couldn't see it in 2020 because of COVID, I still think there's a lot of talent left over from that team. You're one of them. And before we get into obviously what you've done this season, I want to turn the page back a little bit, kind of to the beginning. How did football find Jacob Shook?
Um, Definitely through my father. He loves football. He played football for Sheehan back in '85 when they last time we won the championship before 2019. And started out playing football very early, second grade, and it's always been my number one sport, and I've always loved it. And I just kind of grew up, watching it, playing it, and just loving it all around.
As you were growing up and having your dad who's a former player is huge because he can show you the ins and outs.
Hmm.
How was that? I mean, was he someone that, I don't want to say he pushed you, but was he hard on you when you were younger, or did he kind of just let you play, and if you had questions, then he would have you go to him, he didn't go to you?
It was kind of a balance of both. It was more so when we were on our own because he coached me in youth. You know, he would coach the offensive line and D line, and I would mostly be a skill player. But you know, like when I was at home or whatever after practice, he would tell me this and that. What different things I could do.
Hmm.
And but when it came down to being at actual practice, he would kind of stray away from singling me out and whatnot, and kind of save it to be hard on me, you know, outside of practice, not around the team. But he definitely would help me improve my game, definitely.
Were you always a skill player from the time you were young and then as you were maturing through your ages through the game of football?
Yeah, definitely. I think I started out playing running back very early on, and then that kind of molded to more of, I think after fifth grade and middle school, I was more of a kind of like a slot receiver type. I would sometimes play fullback to block for the running back, and I would mainly play defense. I would play defensive back.
I think that's pretty good and also unique, man, that at an early age you were doing multiple things. You weren't just getting, all right, here's the hand off, go run. You were, like you said, you were in the slot, you were blocking. And because the way the game is changing now with running backs, you can't just run the football. You have to block, you have to be able to catch, especially
Mhm.
for the way the offense is, like I said. Do you think having that early on, probably around the same time of which the game was starting to change, benefits you as a football player, however far you go in your career?
Definitely, because being able to you know play almost every position on the field. I think there's one point in fifth grade where I was playing offensive line just because for, why not? To see how it went. I played center and I actually didn't do too bad because back then it was like you're in fifth grade, everyone's like the same size. But yeah, just being able to experience like every position on the field, it gives you football knowledge. And that football knowledge can, benefit you greatly. Being able to not only know your responsibility, but understand the entire scheme of whether it's offense or defense, that helps you, greatly in being able to execute your job, you know, and also able to help your teammates out be successful.
As you made the transition to playing both sides of the ball, offense and defense, how long did it take on the defensive side? Because obviously you didn't have the reps yet. How long did it take you to kind of catch up? And I know you were young, so I'm not expecting you to get it first day. But did it take you a while to kind of get used to playing on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility to be able to know your responsibility on offense and defense. But yeah, definitely trying to soak in all the information your coaches are giving you, whether it's technique, whether it's scheme wise, you just try and take it all in and do the best that you can and grow.
Now, as you were about to enter high school, obviously your father being at Sheehan, you knew about, obviously the last championship and the history and all of that. So I don't have to ask you, oh, did you know about the history of Sheehan? You knew that from the time you were 3 years old, probably when you were born.
Right.
Um, your freshman year, kind of just take me into that because obviously, like I said, your father being with what he was at Sheehan and just all the history and all of that. Did you ever feel any kind of pressure your freshman year?
Um, Maybe not so as much as I do now, but I think there definitely was pressure in terms of what I wanted to be and who I expected myself to be and who people expected me to be. I never went in freshman year thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm going to play varsity." I was, small, scrawny kid. I knew I needed to work to get to a certain level, but definitely knowing that, you know, the kind of football player my father was, it
Mhm.
um it kind of like pushed me to, be a certain, player and bring myself to a certain level of play.
As you went into your sophomore year, man, now knowing about your freshman year, and you told me how sophomore year you were mainly a special teams player. Am I correct?
Yeah.
That was that something for you, not to say it was difficult, but because I know how much you wanted to be on the field any which way to be able to help. I mean,
Hmm.
Bogan running the ball, I mean, that boy's not taking too many carries off. He wants to truck people left and right.
Right.
But was there ever a time where you felt like you wanted to be on the field more, but you just knew that your role was to be on special teams?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, anybody wants to be on the field. But I knew that I still had a lot of development, in my game, physically, mentally. Um, and I was surrounded by so much talent that I knew that, these guys are putting in so much work on the field, on offense and defense, just for me to be able to go in on special teams, give them a blow.
Mhm.
I knew it would help them out.
Was there a particular player or coach who either your freshman year or sophomore year that kind of allowed you, maybe in some ways, the light went off, something clicked, and maybe it was on special teams, maybe it was a special teams coach, whatever it was, whoever it was. Was there some way that helped you kind of take that next level, take that next step?
It would probably be my position coach, which is Coach Garrity. He because originally I was a slot receiver and a defensive back. I was a safety, and he, you know, would bring me over to with the varsity, and he would allow me to get some reps during practice and just kind of soak in whatever information there was to learn, because safety is mentally one of the hardest positions to play in our defense, because you have to know like every call and a bunch of this stuff. And just him being able to give me those opportunities, knowing that next year that I would have to step into that position, just helping me prepare for that, it meant a lot.
Now that you've probably, I mean, between 2020 and the lost season, and with what COVID was for months where things were closed, I'm sure there was a lot of reflection. And at least you guys were able to end 2019 on a positive note as far as winning the championship. When I think
Mhm.
about that 2019 team, the players who were just fantastic, you alluded to them. There's so many, I can't even name them all. The
Yeah.
staff, when you think about Coach Miller, what he's doing at Norwalk, they're 4-0. You have the Talon coach, a former guy on your staff who's doing well. I know they just started to play again. I
Mhm.
just think about, I feel like that year was a symbolically perfect year. And I think what you guys were able to do was something so special. It happens, I believe, once in a generation. Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
definitely. Definitely. Yeah, it was being a younger guy watching it happen, and it was just something, you dreamed of being, a part of that, and just being a small part of it was amazing. Just watching all of the pieces of the puzzle just connect. You had talent in every phase of the game. Coaches, line, you had a great quarterback, receivers, running back, you name it. You know, just it all combined in it. That's why we won a championship.
I almost wish, and I hope people were taking a bunch of video, but I wish it was like, you can make a movie out of that. Seriously.
Yeah.
Because you see all
Hmm.
the documentaries on ESPN about, the Bills, Bill Belichick and the Big Tuna, Bill Parcells, their journey. You think about, name whatever documentary. I would have loved to have seen the documentary of the Sheehan football program from how it started to then 2019. I feel like that's something that's just, I think that'd be really cool. That's just me.
Definitely, I agree. Because Coach Farazi would talk about how he's seen seasons where you barely win, and you have bad luck with whatever, not having a lot of wins, and how we've grown as a program to be able to get used to making the playoffs, where it was just kind of like you expected to make the playoffs. Before, it was kind of like something special when you made the playoffs. Now it's like we expect to make the playoffs, and we just finally reached that point where we were able to finish all the way through and win the championship, and it was great.
And like you said, man, the bar has been set. There's
Yep.
no middle ground. It's if it's not going to be a championship, it's playoffs. It's get there, have a winning season. And I think, man, for Coach Farazi and yourselves to kind of hold yourselves. I mean, obviously losing 2020 was terrible. You and I were
Hmm.
talking about before we started this interview about how very few players were on that team in 2019. Some were in seventh grade, depending if they're freshmen,
Yeah.
in eighth grade, even if they're sophomores. Uh, just considering all of that, going into the summer leading up to this season, what was it like for you? Because you were one of the head guys and you had probably some of the most experience on the varsity level.
Yeah, I knew that, me and a few other guys, we knew that we had to step up in a big way. You know, we knew that ourselves, we didn't have much experience, but we knew we had some. But we knew that there were guys that, had little to none, and we knew that we needed to mature fast. And we kind of took it as it went, and just whatever came at us, whatever COVID, whatever shutdowns, we just kind of, brush it off and keep moving. We just had to keep moving forward. And I think we handled it well, and I think we're going to continue to do that.
As you were going through the workouts and then as preseason was underway, were you somebody that was more an introvert or an extrovert as far as trying to show leadership, but also helping the young guys? I mean, how did you maneuver that?
Um, Originally, I was usually an introvert when it came to that because I was so used to being a role player who who just kind of played their role, and let the playmakers make the plays, whatever, let the leaders talk. But I knew coming into the season, and Farazi, he told me, it's like, you're going to be a leader who's going to have to be vocal, and it's got to, whenever we face certain things, that you got to be the one who's keeping people focused and keeping people up. And yeah, I've had to mature in that way, and I'm working on it still. And yeah, I just do my best to be the best leader and the best role model for the younger guys.
When did he sit down with you to tell you that you were not only going to be the bell cow, but you also had to be the star on defense? You had to, like you said, with all the calls and everything. I mean, you probably know more about the defensive scheme than a lot of those guys. I could be wrong. But when did he sit down and tell you, like, if we're going to be going to the playoffs, if we're going to have any chance going far, you have to carry us, or at least help us in
Um,
instrumental way?
right. I think it really started with um this off season. He he called me, and he because Paul Gorey, our quarterback, is a sophomore, is a young guy, and we weren't sure how he was going to pan out. I think he's been doing great, and he stepped up great. But prior to that, we weren't sure how it was going to go, and we needed a quarterback. And he called me, and he said that, you're an athlete, and I think that you'd be capable of playing quarterback. He's like, I think that if there's anyone we're going to trust, I think it would be you. And I was just like, oh my God, here we go. I'm going to have to do this. But thankfully, I don't have to do that. Thankfully, Paul has been doing a phenomenal job, you know, stepping up to the quarterback position. And, I just go wherever coach tells me to go. I understand I need to be certain places, play certain positions in order to assure, success. And I just kind of go with it.
I would have loved to have seen your reaction if he called you and said, Jacob, we may need you on the line. Can you play center? I would have loved to have seen that reaction.
Yeah, it would internally it would kind of be like a oh my god, but externally I'll just kind of be like a yes coach, whatever you need type of thing. And if it was, in the best interest of the team, I would have done it. But thankfully that's never come up.
I feel like that would be not funny to watch, but I feel like it'd be really interesting to see how that goes. Just to see you go up
Yeah.
against a big time defensive lineman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, definitely. But at the same time, I feel like, we have undersized linemen as it is.
Mhm.
And they kind of go through it, on a daily basis on a, in any game. And I give them huge props because, that could really be anyone, being, short staffed because of the COVID year,
Mhm.
moving people around. But yeah, I definitely think it would be interesting, seeing how I would go against a D lineman because playing outside linebacker, I've had to go against some pretty big linemen. Uh, but I try to hold my own and just kind of take up the blockers and let the other guys come and make the tackle. You know.
As you've gone through this season, I know we're still very early. Have you
hmm
had an opportunity to kind of just reflect a little bit on how well you played? I mean, in the previous game, man, you played fantastic over 200 yards and multiple touchdowns. Defensively, you've been a star there. Have you been able to reflect on that?
Um. Yeah. I mean, briefly, I just kind of like after the game, watching film and just kind of like soaking in, you know, how I performed and seeing how I did and you know just kind of thinking how I need to improve and of course watching film and of course the phrase he always says you never did as good as you think and you never did as bad as you think and he definitely lets you know Saturday morning what you need to work on but yeah um I just kind of play hard go into every game like it's my last because it absolutely could the way things have been going
Mhm.
but I just trust the guys around me and just try and perform the best I can.
I like that saying out of Coach Ferrazzi because I've been telling my friends who are Yankee fans. I was like, the Yankees were not as good as what they were when they were 35-11, and they were
Yeah,
probably just as bad. I just reversed the words. They were just as bad as
hmm
what they were throughout the season.
yeah, yep,
I don't know if you're a baseball fan or not, but
yeah.
nah,
Not a huge one.
not a huge fan. It's fine.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
you're a football fan, I'm assuming, right?
yeah, definitely.
All right, who's your team?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Last game was brutal.
They probably should have let Big Ben go maybe 2 years ago. Maybe
Definitely,
probably
he's
could
a
have,
bit washed.
yeah, could have drafted a quarterback, kind of,
Yeah,
maybe.
you think?
But what do we know, right?
Right? Yeah,
But man, it's great to be able to have you on. I have a couple more
yeah.
questions for you really quick. As far as, not to look beyond the season, because I know it's your senior year. Don't want it to fly by any means. But
hmm
college football, is that something you're thinking about? You want to do? Just tell me about that.
I think prior to the season, not so much because junior year I was able to have a lacrosse season. I'm a lacrosse player, and I play goalie, and we had a pretty successful lacrosse season. And you know, I definitely thought about playing college lacrosse,
Hmm.
but how the football season going, I think it's not totally out of the question,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's my number one option. But if opportunities present themselves, and you know, I'm gonna take whatever I can get.
I was going to say because I see the CCSU shirt. If they came
Mhm.
knocking on your door after a 5 touchdown game this week or next week or whenever that happens, I don't think you're going to deny and be like, no. I'd be like, yeah, come inside. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, this is just from camp, but yeah, if that were to happen, yeah, you know, to shut that down.
Yeah, man. But hey, it's great to be able to have you on. It was a pleasure, and
Yeah,
I wish you nothing but the best of luck throughout the rest of the season.
thank you, man. Thank you.
Stay in touch. Like I said, I love what Coach
Yeah.
Faraz is doing and the way that he runs his program. I mean, anybody I've had on from Sheehan, doesn't matter. Always respectful, always polite, and you're another one of those. And stay the
Thank
way
you.
you are, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man.
No problem. That'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Town. I'm our journey to find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.